Commander Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck of the UES Phantom, watching distant stars shimmer through the ship's unique metamaterial hull. To the casual observer, the vessel appeared to be nothing more than an aging patrol ship, its hull marked with patches of discoloration and seemingly crude repair work. But like everything else about the Phantom, appearances were deliberately deceiving. Another Drachnid battle group just dropped out of hyperspace. Commander, Lieutenant Marcus Rodriguez reported from his sensor station. That makes 15 capital ships in the Arcturus sector this week alone. Chen nodded, her expression neutral as she studied the tactical display. The Drachnids, like most species in the Galactic Confederation, saw humanity as primitive newcomers who had somehow stumbled their way into faster-than-light travel. The Phantom's carefully crafted appearance only reinforced that perception. Its hull design decades behind current standards, its engine signature deliberately irregular, its communications always slightly delayed and garbled. "Are they scanning us?" Chen asked, though she already knew the answer. Rodriguez smiled. "They barely gave us a passing glance. Their sensor operator probably thinks we're not worth the energy expenditure." That was exactly what they wanted. While the Drachnid's sleek warships proudly displayed their advanced technology, the Phantom's true nature remained hidden beneath layers of deliberate deception. Each patch of apparent corrosion housed quantum sensors far beyond anything the Confederation had developed. The irregular engine signature masked a propulsion system that could outmaneuver anything in known space. Even the ship's seemingly outdated communications array contained technology that could crack the most sophisticated encryption in seconds. "Message from Central Command," announced Communications Officer Yuki Tanaka. "They're seeing similar fleet movements in 3 other sectors. Something big is brewing." Chen moved to the command chair, its deliberately worn appearance concealing enough computing power to run a small city. The Phantom was humanity's masterpiece of misdirection, the culmination of centuries of learning to survive through cunning rather than brute force. While other species raced to build bigger ships with more powerful weapons, humanity had taken a different approach. "New contact," Rodriguez reported suddenly. "Drachnid diplomatic vessel, heading toward their embassy station. They're broadcasting in the clear." He paused, listening through his neural interface. "They're discussing something called Operation Daybreak." "Record everything," Chen ordered, "especially any subspace frequencies they think are secure. And make sure our transponder is still broadcasting that maintenance request. As far as they're concerned, we're just a patrol boat waiting for repair parts." The bridge crew worked in practiced silence, each member playing their role in humanity's greatest deception. They were the watchers in the dark, gathering intelligence that could mean the difference between survival and extinction. For 3 years, the Phantom had drifted through Confederation space, appearing to all as nothing more than an example of humanity's technological backwardness. "Commander," Tanaka called out, her voice carrying an edge of urgency, "I'm picking up some interesting cross-traffic between the diplomatic vessel and the battle group. They're using their new quantum encryption, but," she smiled, "they still haven't realized we broke that 6 months ago." Chen moved to Tanaka's station, studying the decoded transmissions. Her eyes narrowed as she read, the pieces of a puzzle falling into place. They're not just building up their forces, they're positioning them. These aren't random patrol movements, they're setting up a coordinated strike. "Target?" Rodriguez asked. "Us. All of us. Every human world and outpost in Confederate space." Chen straightened, her mind racing through implications and possibilities. They'd finally decided to solve the human problem. The Drachnids, like many species in the Confederation, saw humanity's rapid expansion into space as a threat to galactic stability. Humans were too unpredictable, too adaptable, too willing to ignore established conventions. The fact that humanity had achieved faster-than-light travel using methods the Confederation considered impossible had only heightened their concerns. "They think it will be easy," Chen said, more to herself than her crew. a swift, overwhelming strike against a primitive species that barely understands the technology they're using. They'll expect token resistance at best. She allowed herself a small smile. They have no idea what they're walking into. The Phantom was just one of dozens of similar vessels scattered throughout Confederate space, each one appearing as nothing more than an outdated patrol ship or merchant vessel. But together, they formed humanity's first line of defense, an invisible web of sensors and intelligence gathering that had mapped every Confederate military installation, tracked every fleet movement, and decoded every secure transmission for the past 3 years. New transmission, Tanaka reported. They're accelerating their timeline. Operation Daybreak is scheduled to begin in less than 2 weeks. Chen nodded. Send everything to Central Command. Use the quantum entanglement array. We can't risk standard transmissions now. And make sure our next maintenance request sounds appropriately desperate. We need to stay in this sector as long as possible. As her crew carry out their orders, Chen returned to the observation deck. Through the metamaterial hull, she watched another Drachnid warship glide past, its crew probably smirking at the primitive human vessel that couldn't even maintain its own systems properly. They had no idea that their every movement, every communication, every weapon signature was being recorded and analyzed by the very ship they dismissed as irrelevant. The Drachnids thought they were being clever, positioning their forces while the primitive humans remained oblivious. They had no idea that their every move had been anticipated, every strategy mapped out, every weakness identified. They would learn, too late, that humanity's greatest strength had always been its ability to appear weak when it was strong. Let them laugh, Chen whispered to herself as she watched the Drachnid ships maneuver. They won't be laughing much longer. The Phantom drifted through the debris field of an abandoned mining operation, its sensors disguised as damaged hull plates drinking in data from the surrounding space. Commander Chen watched as another Drachnid patrol passed nearby, their gleaming ships a stark contrast to the Phantom's deliberately weathered appearance. They're getting bolder, Rodriguez observed from his station. That's the third patrol in 2 hours. They're not even trying to hide their movements anymore. Chen nodded, studying the tactical display where dozens of red dots marked Confederate fleet positions. The Drachnids had been busy, moving their forces into position under the guise of routine exercises. To any normal observer, it might have seemed like standard military maneuvers. But the Phantom wasn't a normal observer. Show me the pattern analysis, Chen ordered. The holographic display shifted, revealing intricate webs of fleet movements and supply lines. What looked like random patrols to others formed a clear picture to those who knew where to look. The Drachnids were establishing forward staging areas, positioning their forces for a lightning strike against human space. Message from the Artemis, Tanaka announced, referring to another of humanity's disguised vessels. They've detected similar fleet movements in the Centauri sector. The Drachnids are coordinating with the Vex hegemony. Chen's expression hardened. The Vex were known for their biological weapons, their viral agents capable of targeting specific genetic markers. They're not just planning an invasion, she realized. They're planning genocide. The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. The Confederation had decided that humanity was too unpredictable, too dangerous to be allowed to develop further. Rather than risk facing them as equals in the future, they would eliminate the threat now, while they still believe humans to be primitive and vulnerable. New contact, Rodriguez reported suddenly. Big one. Dreadnought class, but something's different about this one. He frowned at his readings. Its energy signature doesn't match anything in our database. Through the viewport, a massive ship emerged from hyperspace. Unlike the sleek designs of standard Drachnid vessels, this one was angular and dark, its hull seeming to absorb both light and sensor scans. That's their new weapon, Chen said quietly. The one they think will guarantee their victory. The Phantom's quantum sensors, hidden beneath what appeared to be patches of hull damage, went to work. Layer by layer, they peeled back the dreadnought's defenses, analyzing its capabilities. What they found was troubling. It's equipped with some kind of phase technology, Rodriguez reported. They found a way to shift matter slightly out of normal space-time. Our conventional weapons would pass right through it. Chen allowed herself a grim smile. Good thing we don't rely on conventional weapons then. She turned to Tanaka. Contact Central Command. Priority Alpha. Send them everything we have on that dreadnought. And make sure our distress beacon is still broadcasting. We need to look appropriately helpless. As if on cue, a Drachnid patrol vessel approached the Phantom. Human vessel. A condescending voice came over the comm. This sector is now restricted for military exercises. Your presence here is a potential hazard to both yourself and our operations. Chen activated the comm, making sure to add the right amount of static and delay to her response. Understood, sir. We're still waiting for replacement parts for our navigation system. Once they arrive, we'll be on our way. The Drachnid officer's tone dripped with contempt. See that you do. It would be unfortunate if your primitive vessel were to be caught in the middle of our operations. After the patrol moved on, Rodriguez spoke up. They're getting impatient. That was as close to a direct threat as they've come. They're confident, Chen replied. They think they have us surrounded, outgunned, and completely unaware of what's coming. She moved to the tactical station, studying the fleet movements again. What they don't realize is that we've been preparing for this moment for years. Deep within the Phantom's hull, beneath the carefully maintained facade of obsolescence, systems that no Confederate species had ever imagined possible hummed with power. The ship's true weapons remained hidden, waiting for the moment when deception would give way to action. Message from Central Command, Tanaka announced. Operation Counter Dawn is now in effect. All vessels are to maintain current positions and continue surveillance. When the Drachnids make their move, she paused, allowing herself a small smile. We make ours. Chen returned to her command chair, its worn appearance masking cutting-edge technology. The Drachnids thought they were being clever, positioning their forces while the primitive humans remained oblivious. They had no idea that their every move had been anticipated, every strategy mapped out, every weakness identified. They're accelerating their timeline, Rodriguez reported, analyzing new communications intercepts. Operation Daybreak has been moved up. They're planning to strike in 3 days. Perfect, Chen replied. That's exactly what we wanted them to think was their decision. She looked around at her crew, each member playing their part in humanity's greatest deception. Maintain surveillance. Record everything. Let them think we're just a helpless patrol boat stuck in the wrong place at the wrong time. As another Drachnid warship passed by, its crew probably laughing at the primitive human vessel, Chen thought about the true nature of power. The Confederation species had grown complacent in their technological superiority, never considering that there might be different paths to advancement. They built bigger ships, more powerful weapons, more impressive displays of force. Humanity had chosen a different path. While their enemies focused on power, humans had perfected deception. While the Confederation raced to build bigger weapons, humanity had developed technologies they couldn't even detect. And soon, very soon, they would learn the cost of their arrogance. Let them laugh, Chen whispered, watching the Drachnid dreadnought through the viewport. They won't be laughing much longer. The massive Drachnid fleet dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation, their ships filling the void like a metallic storm cloud. Through the Phantom's viewport, Commander Chen watched as hundreds of warships moved into attack positions, their crews confident in their overwhelming superiority. They've begun broadcasting on all frequencies, Tanaka reported, her fingers dancing across her console. They're demanding the immediate surrender of all human colonies and military installations. Chen nodded, watching as more ships continued to emerge from hyperspace. The Drachnids had committed nearly their entire fleet to Operation Daybreak, convinced that a single overwhelming strike would crush humanity before they could mount an effective defense. Their phase-shifted dreadnought is moving into position, Rodriguez announced. They're positioning it for a strike on New Terra. Looks like they want to demonstrate their new weapon on our largest colony. How considerate of them, Chen replied dryly. To put all their eggs in one basket, she activated the ship's quantum entanglement communicator, a system the Confederation didn't even know was possible. Central Command, this is Phantom. The fleet has arrived exactly where we predicted. Operation Counter Dawn is ready to proceed on your mark. For 3 years, humanity had played the part of technological primitives, letting the Confederation believe they were decades behind in military capability. Every human ship had been designed to look outdated, every communication made to seem unsophisticated. The Drachnids and their allies had fallen for it completely. All Confederate ships are in position, Rodriguez reported. They're powering up weapons systems. Time to target for their first strike. 3 minutes. Chen stood from her command chair, her posture straight and confident for the first time in years. Send the signal to all hidden vessels. Disengage stealth protocols. It's time to show them what humanity can really do. Across the sector, dozens of seemingly primitive human ships underwent startling transformations. The Phantom's metamaterial hull shifted, the apparent patches and damage dissolving to reveal a sleek, advanced vessel unlike anything the Confederation had ever seen. Similar changes rippled across other disguised ships. Patrol boats, merchants, even what appeared to be space debris suddenly revealing their true nature. Their tactical officers are going crazy, Tanaka said with a grin. Their sensors can't make sense of what they're seeing. They're trying to launch fighters, but... She paused, listening to their panicked communications. Their launch systems aren't responding. That was because for months, microscopic nanobots disguised as space dust had been infiltrating Confederate ships through their own defense screens. The Drachnid's mighty fleet was already infected with humanity's most sophisticated weapon, programmable matter that could interface with and control any technological system. The phase-shifted dreadnought is attempting to fire its main weapon, Rodriguez reported. No effect. Our quantum field is holding. The massive dreadnought, the pride of the Confederate fleet, fired its reality-warping weapon at the Phantom. But instead of tearing the ship apart at a quantum level, the energy dissipated harmlessly against shields that operated on principles the Confederation had never imagined. Return fire, Chen ordered calmly. Show them what a primitive human ship can really do. The Phantom's true weapons emerged from their hiding places within the hull. Not the crude projectile weapons or basic energy beams the Confederation expected, but sophisticated systems that manipulated the fabric of space-time itself. A single shot from the Phantom's main array created a localized gravity well that crushed 3 Confederate cruisers into twisted debris. Confederate fleet is attempting to regroup, Rodriguez announced. They're trying to establish a defensive formation, but their navigation systems are compromised. Our nanobots have complete control of their basic ship functions. Across the battlefield, Confederate ships found themselves moving against their cruise commands, their own systems turned against them by invisible infiltrators that had been patiently waiting for this moment. What had seemed like an overwhelming force just minutes ago was now in complete chaos. Message from Central Command, Tanaka reported. All sectors reporting similar results. The Confederate fleet is in disarray everywhere they attempted to strike. Casualty reports showing minimal damage to human forces. Chen watched through the viewport as the mighty Drachnid dreadnought tried desperately to escape, its phase-shift technology useless against weapons it couldn't even detect. Send the surrender demand, she ordered. Let's see how they like being on the receiving end. The battle, if it could even be called that, was over in less than an hour. The greatest fleet ever assembled by the Confederation had been completely neutralized by the very ships they had mocked as primitive. Not a single human vessel had been lost. Confederate command ship is broadcasting on all frequencies, Tanaka announced. They're requesting terms of surrender. Chen allowed herself a small smile. Send them our response. Tell them humanity accepts their surrender, and we look forward to renegotiating our position within the Confederation. As the Phantom's crew began securing their prisoners and coordinating with other human vessels, Chen reflected on the irony of the situation. The Confederation had been so convinced of their superiority, so certain that humanity's apparently primitive technology made them an easy target, that they had never considered they might be walking into a trap. Central Command reports similar success across all sectors. Tanaka said, the Confederate military capability has been reduced by approximately 80%. Their remaining forces are standing down. And the phase-shifted dreadnought? Chen asked. Secured, Rodriguez replied. Our engineering teams are already studying its systems, though I doubt they'll find anything we don't already have a counter for. Chen nodded, watching as human ships, now revealed in their true, advanced forms, began the process of securing the battlefield. The age of pretending to be primitive was over. Now the real work would begin, reshaping the Confederation into something that truly served all its members, not just those who appeared to be the most advanced. Admiral Kexnar of the Drachnid Confederation sat rigid in his command chair, mandibles twitching with barely contained rage and disbelief as he watched the human delegation approach through his flagship's main viewport. Their shuttle, which hours ago would have appeared crude and primitive, now gleamed with technology that his best scientists couldn't even begin to comprehend. Commander Chen led the human delegation aboard the Confederate flagship, no longer maintaining the carefully crafted appearance of technological inferiority. Her uniform, once deliberately made to look outdated, now displayed subtle patterns that seemed to shift and flow with each movement, incorporating technology that made their previous deception possible. How long? Kexnar demanded as soon as the humans entered his command center. How long have you been lying to the entire Confederation? Lying? Chen raised an eyebrow. We merely allowed you to see what you expected to see. Your own prejudices did most of the work for us. She gestured to the holographic display, showing the aftermath of the battle. Your fleet was defeated not by deception, but by your own arrogance. The display showed dozens of Confederate ships, now held immobile by forces their sensors couldn't even detect. The mighty phase-shifted dreadnought, once considered invincible, floated powerless among them, its revolutionary technology rendered useless by human countermeasures that had existed for years. Impossible, one of Kexnar's science officers protested. We monitored your development. We saw your primitive attempts at faster-than-light travel, your crude weapons, your struggling colonies. You saw what we wanted you to see. Rodriguez interjected, stepping forward with a data tablet. While you were busy building bigger ships and more powerful weapons, we took a different approach. He activated the tablet, projecting a detailed analysis of human technological development. We focused on miniaturization, efficiency, and most importantly, deception. The Confederate officers watched in stunned silence as the presentation revealed the true extent of human advancement. The seemingly primitive hull patches that had actually been sophisticated sensor arrays, the outdated communication systems that had been breaking their most advanced encryption, the crude chemical engines that had masked propulsion technology beyond their understanding. But why? Kexnar asked, his anger giving way to genuine curiosity. Why maintain this deception for so long? Chen's expression softened slightly. Because we studied your history, Admiral. We saw how the Confederation treated species they considered threats. Those who displayed advanced technology too quickly were isolated, sanctioned, sometimes even attacked preemptively. She gestured to the battle debris visible through the viewport, like you tried to do to us today. We knew you would never accept us as equals if we revealed our true capabilities, Tanaka added. So we gave you what you expected. A primitive species struggling to catch up, one that could be safely ignored or patronized. Kexnar slumped in his chair, the full implications of the day's events finally sinking in. The Confederation will never recover from this humiliation. That's where you're wrong, Admiral, Chen replied. This isn't about humiliation. It's about change. She activated her own holographic display, showing a new vision of galactic cooperation. We want to help reform the Confederation into something better. No more hierarchies based on perceived technological advancement. No more threats of violence against emerging species. The human delegation spent the next several hours outlining their proposal for a reformed confederation. They revealed technological breakthroughs that could benefit all species, medical advances that could save countless lives, and defensive systems that could protect against genuine threats from outside Confederate space. All of this, one of Kexanar's advisors whispered. You had all of this, and yet you let us treat you like children. We played a long game, Chen explained. Every mockery endured, every condescending comment ignored, every deliberate display of primitive technology. It all served a purpose. We needed to understand the Confederation fully before we could help change it. As the discussions continued, news spread throughout Confederate space. The humans, long dismissed as technological primitives, had not only defeated the combined Confederate fleet, but had done so without suffering a single casualty. More importantly, they were offering peace and cooperation, rather than demanding revenge or reparations. Your ships? Kexnar said, studying the newly revealed capabilities of vessels like the Phantom. They're not even primarily designed for combat, are they? Chen shook her head. They're exploration vessels, Admiral. Research ships. We developed our defensive capabilities only because we had to. Our true focus has always been on discovery and understanding. The Admiral's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. And now? What happens now that the masquerade is over? Now, Chen replied, we start building something new. Together. She extended her hand in the human gesture of peace. The question is, Admiral, are you ready to be part of that future? As Kexnar looked around his command center at his stunned officers, at the displayed evidence of human advancement, and at the peaceful offer being extended despite the Confederation's attempted genocide, he realized he was witnessing a pivotal moment in galactic history. The humans had not just defeated them. They had completely redefined the rules of engagement. 6 months after the failed Confederate invasion, the Phantom glided through space with its true form proudly displayed. Gone was the facade of rust and decay, replaced by the sleek lines and advanced technology that had been hidden for so long. Commander Chen stood on the observation deck, watching stars streak by through the metamaterial hull as they approached the newly established Galactic Council headquarters. Still feels strange, Rodriguez commented from beside her, not having to pretend anymore. The past months had seen dramatic changes throughout Confederate space. The revelation of humanity's true technological level had sent shockwaves through galactic society, forcing every species to reevaluate their assumptions about progress and power. Status report from the diplomatic corps, Tanaka called from her station. The last of the hardline Confederate factions has agreed to join the new Galactic Council. They're saying our demonstration of the quantum manufacturing facilities was persuasive. Chen smiled. After the battle, humanity had begun sharing some of their advances, not weapons or military technology, but innovations that could improve life for all species. Medical nanobots that could cure previously terminal diseases, energy systems that could power entire planets without pollution, manufacturing techniques that could eliminate scarcity. Incoming transmission from the Drachnid delegation, Tanaka announced. Admiral Kexnar requests permission to dock. He says he has something important to discuss before the council session. Minutes later, the Drachnid admiral stood on the Phantom's bridge, his posture notably different from the arrogant bearing he'd shown 6 months ago. Commander Chen, he began, our scientists have finally finished analyzing the data from the battle. The level of technological advancement you concealed, it's astonishing. That's not why you're here, Admiral, Chen replied knowingly. Kexnar's mandibles clicked in what humans had learned was a sign of respect. No, I'm here because we've detected something at the edge of known space, something that makes our recent conflict seem insignificant. He transferred data to the Phantom systems, showing readings from the galactic rim. Strange energy signatures, unlike anything seen before, suggested something massive approaching Confederate space. We thought we were the height of civilization, Kexnar continued. We thought our technology was the pinnacle of achievement, but you showed us how wrong we were, and now, he gestured to the readings. Now we face something truly unknown. Chen studied the data, her expression thoughtful. This is why we chose to reveal ourselves the way we did, Admiral. Not to humiliate or defeat the Confederation, but to prepare our galaxy for challenges like this. We've suspected for years that we weren't alone in the universe. You knew. Kexnar's inner eyelids blinked rapidly in surprise. We had theories. Our long-range quantum sensors detected anomalies years ago. It's one reason we developed our technology the way we did, focusing on efficiency and adaptability rather than brute force. The Admiral was quiet for a moment, processing this information. The Council session today. You're going to propose a joint defense initiative, aren't you? Chen nodded. The galaxy needs to be united, Admiral. Not under human leadership or drachnid leadership or any single species control, but as equals, each contributing our unique strengths and perspectives. The same humans we tried to eliminate 6 months ago are now proposing to help defend us against an unknown threat, Kexnar mused. The irony is not lost on me. That's the difference between your approach and ours, Admiral, Chen replied. You saw different species as potential threats to be eliminated. We see them as potential allies to be cultivated. Through the viewport, more ships were arriving for the Council session. Vessels from every Confederate species, no longer arranged in hierarchical formations based on technological status, but gathered as equals. The Phantom's sensors detected familiar energy signatures from some of them, suggesting they'd begun incorporating human innovations into their designs. Your ship, Kexnar said, looking around the bridge with new appreciation. It was never just a spy vessel or a warship, was it? The Phantom, like all our ships, was designed to explore and understand, Chen explained. Its ability to hide its true nature was a necessity, not its primary purpose. Now it can be what it was always meant to be, a bridge between cultures, a tool for discovery. As more delegates arrived for the Council session, Shen reflected on how far they'd come. The galaxy was transforming, moving away from the old hierarchies and prejudices towards something new. Species that had once competed now collaborated, sharing their unique perspectives and abilities to face the challenges ahead. We should head to the Council chamber, she said to Kexnar. The future won't wait for us to be ready. The Admiral nodded, and together they left the bridge. Behind them, through the Phantom's viewport, the assembled ships of the new Galactic Council hung in space, a testament to how quickly things could change when species chose cooperation over conflict. Humanity had hidden its true nature for years, playing the role of technological primitives. But in doing so, they had learned perhaps the most important lesson of all. True strength lay not in superior weapons or advanced technology, but in the ability to bring people together, to find common ground even among former enemies. As the Council session began, Chen looked out at the assembled representatives of a dozen species and smiled. The masquerade was over. But the real work, the work of building a united galaxy, was just beginning.